My name is Peter Whitmore. I'm 87 years old, and I can feel it now, the narrowing. Not in some dramatic way, not the way people talk about in movies, just a quiet sense that the days ahead of me are fewer than the ones behind. I didn't plan to record this. I'm sitting in the small back room of my house. The light is low. It's late afternoon, the kind of light that makes everything look softer than it really is. I've lived in this house for 43 years. The walls have absorbed arguments, laughter, silence, long stretches of silence. I don't know how much time I have left. None of us ever do. But when you get to 87, you start to feel the truth of that in your bones. I suppose I should start somewhere simple. I was not a bad man. That matters to me. I worked hard. I paid my bills. I kept my word when I could. I married once, stayed married, raised 2 children. I showed up. I did what was expected. From the outside, my life would look steady, decent. But that's not the same as alive. When I was young, I thought time was something that waited politely. I thought there would always be another year to fix things, another season to say what I meant, another weekend to sit down and really listen. There always seemed to be tomorrow. I remember one night in particular. I must have been 35. My wife, Eleanor, was standing in the kitchen doorway. She had that look on her face, not angry, just tired. She asked me if we could sit together for a while after dinner. Just sit. No television, no newspaper. I told her I had paperwork to finish. I wasn't lying. I did have paperwork. There was always paperwork, deadlines, promotions I was chasing, a supervisor I wanted to impress. She nodded. That's all she did, just nodded. I can still see the way her shoulders dropped as she turned away. At the time it felt small, harmless, practical. Now, when I think about it, that moment feels heavier than it ever should have. There were so many moments like that, tiny crossroads I didn't even recognize as crossroads. I kept choosing the sensible thing, the responsible thing, the efficient thing. I kept choosing later. I missed the way my son used to hover in the doorway of my study when he was about 8. He wouldn't interrupt me. He'd just stand there, waiting for me to look up. Sometimes I did. Most times I waved him away gently and said, "Not now, buddy. Give me a minute." He stopped coming by after a while. Children don't argue forever. They adjust. I told myself I was building something for them. Security, stability, a future they wouldn't have to worry about. And in a practical sense, I did. But I didn't see what I was trading for it. When you're young, you think love is proven in grand gestures, buying a house, paying for college, fixing what's broken. You don't realize how much it lives in the quiet, ordinary minutes you keep postponing. I wasn't cruel. That's the part that unsettles me most. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't violent. I wasn't absent in the obvious ways. I was just slightly elsewhere, slightly preoccupied, slightly delayed, and those slight distances added up over decades. There was a Sunday afternoon, I must have been in my early 40s, when my daughter had a school play. She was a tree, not even a speaking role, just a tree in the background. I had an opportunity that day, a meeting with a client who might have opened a new door for my career. It felt important, urgent. I told myself she wouldn't mind. It was just a small part. Eleanor went. She recorded it on one of those old camcorders. The footage still exists somewhere in this house. Years later, when my daughter was grown, she mentioned that day casually. She said she kept scanning the audience for me. She said it lightly, as a memory, but I heard something under it. You don't hear those undertones when you're younger, or maybe you hear them and choose not to sit with them. I'm not trying to make this sound tragic. It wasn't tragic. That's what makes it harder to explain. It was slow, gradual, respectable. My marriage didn't explode. It faded. Eleanor and I shared a bed for decades, but somewhere along the way, we stopped sharing our thoughts. We talked about schedules, groceries, doctor appointments, repairs. We stopped talking about fear, or longing, or the strange ache of getting older. There was a time she reached for my hand in the car, and I remember how unfamiliar it felt, as if we were pretending to be a couple we used to know. She died 8 years ago. Cancer. It moved quickly in the end, too quickly for rehearsed speeches, too quickly for redemption arcs. In the hospital room, when the machines were humming softly and the nurses had stepped out, she looked at me with clear eyes. She didn't accuse me of anything. She didn't list grievances. She just said, very quietly, "I missed you, even when you were right there." And I didn't know how to answer her. That sentence has lived inside me ever since. I wasn't unfaithful. I wasn't neglectful in the way people warn you about. I was just busy, distracted, certain there would be more time to circle back and be fully present. I thought love could be deferred. After she was gone, the house changed, not physically, the same furniture, the same framed photographs, but the air felt different. Silence is louder when there's no one left to share it with. I began noticing small things I had overlooked for years. The way she arranged the books by color, the little notes she used to leave in drawers, a recipe card with her handwriting on it. I started remembering moments I had brushed aside, and that's when it began to settle in. Not as a lesson, not as a slogan, just as a weight. The weight of all the times I chose later. I'm not recording this to confess some dramatic sin. I'm recording it because I finally understand something I didn't understand when it could have mattered differently. Time doesn't argue with you. It doesn't warn you loudly. It just keeps moving while you assume it will wait. And one day you're 87, sitting alone in a quiet room, trying to remember the exact sound of your wife's laughter, and realizing you didn't pay close enough attention when it was still echoing down the hallway. I used to believe that regret would feel sharp, obvious. It doesn't. It feels like a dull ache you carry around in your chest, manageable, constant. I don't know how many evenings I have left. The doctors speak carefully now, gently. I find myself replaying small scenes. Eleanor at the kitchen sink, her sleeves rolled up. My son's small shadow in the doorway. My daughter scanning an audience. None of them were dramatic moments. They were ordinary. And ordinary is what I kept overlooking. If you're still listening, stay with me, because what I'm about to say is something I didn't understand until it was too late, and I don't have many more chances to say it out loud.